Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 38 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Digital Federal Credit Union. But by now, come on, you know them, I know them, everybody knows them as DCU. And not only is DCU a great place to bank at, but they're also a great place to work. And by the way, they are hiring for full and part-time positions. And I know it might be a unique time to try and visualize yourself at a new job. But at DCU, they're here to help you make that change, along with offering a benefits package that includes 3 weeks vacation, a competitive salary, a generous bonus program, a 401k plan with 100% company match up to 7%, plus tuition reimbursement, a student loan payment assistance program, and so much more. It's not the easiest time to be looking for a job. I know that, but those benefits are amazing. So to learn more about DCU and career opportunities, visit dcu.org/careers. DCU is proud to be an equal employment opportunity and affirmative action employer. This episode of the podcast is also sponsored by MistressCarrie.com, which is where you can find everything you need. All right, maybe not everything. I mean, if you're looking for a job, you need to go to DCU, but everything else. Every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast is up there. Every sit rep is up there, which is your way to find out all the headlines in rock and entertainment every weekday in less than 5 minutes. All of the episodes of Cocktails in the War Room are up there as well. And we've been through a lot since the first episode back on March 14th of 2020. If you're trying to keep track of all of the virtual and streaming concerts, go to the events calendar on MistressCarrie.com. Plus, my blog is up there. My photo galleries are expanding all the time. The official Mistress Carrie online store is there, filled with awesome clothes and cool gear. And there's even a link in the top right-hand corner to get yourself a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass on Patreon. Okay. This episode of the podcast, I really hope that you are a fan of British humor because the guys from Royal Blood are full of it. If you're not familiar with Royal Blood, there's only 2 guys, Mike and Ben. They grew up together. They're from Brighton, England, and they make a lot of music for just 2 guys. I saw them once in a small club, and not so long after that, I saw them opening up for the Foo Fighters at Fenway. And it doesn't matter how big the venue is. These guys are amazing live. And we talked about a lot of stuff. Musical inspiration, touring. We got into some technical stuff with songwriting, travel, their favorite bands. We talked briefly about baseball and cricket. And, of course, a lot about their upcoming new album, Typhoons, that comes out on April 30th. If you've never heard their music before, click the playlist link in the show notes of this podcast and get to know their music because I can guarantee that if you're not a fan already, you're gonna be. These guys are so down to earth and so cool, and I can't wait for you to get to know Mike and Ben. So allow me to introduce you to Royal Blood.
Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
How are you?
We're all right, thank you. How are you?
Really well. It's nice to be able to see you while we talk.
It is. We haven't seen a human being properly in a year.
No, I've actually never seen you talk.
No.
I've heard you talk, but I've never seen you talk.
I like You Talk's third album. When Bono, I think it's called War Child.
It is a little strange how antisocial we've all become in an industry that prides itself on being almost too social most of the time.
Well, we got social media, so
and anti-social media,
and which is so I get to see people that I don't want to see all the time.
But seeing people you want to see has been made a little bit more difficult.
Oh, it's terrible. I can't see them. That's all.
When's the last time you guys actually played a live show?
The last show we played...
Oh, we usually mime, so...
yeah. But the last live one, we were in France at a festival called Rock on Seine. It's the last gig we played. And that was 2019, maybe... It was August.
So let's work that out. What date? August I want to say 26th. Because it's the day after.
Yeah.
So where are we now? We're
February.
Yeah, February
the 16th.
Yeah. So how many days has it been?
527 days.
Do you really have that ability to be able to count the days that quickly?
Yeah,
of course he does.
How do you do that?
I don't know. It's like I think that's right. 500. Yeah.
Let me Google it.
This is something that comes up a lot in the podcast, is that the part of your brain that works language and mathematics is also the part of the brain that works music. And you being a drummer, it doesn't surprise me that you have that mathematical ability given what you do for a living.
Thank you. Mike's just checking to see if I...
What did you say?
Oh, I was close. I said 527.
Yeah, 539.
That's pretty damn close.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
I was wondering if a leap year was going to fuck with you.
It did. 4 leap years, and But yeah, time.
The first time I met you guys, I believe was your first or second show in Boston, and you played a little club called the Brighton Music Hall.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
And there was maybe like 100 people in the room, and I came with a bunch of friends, a lot of them who were musicians.
Awesome.
And we stood there in awe, watching you guys and listening to this wall of music coming out of the two of you. And I just remember walking out of that show going, I don't know if I fully understand what I just saw. Right. You guys get a lot of questions about how it is that you're able to pull off the music you pull off with the two of you.
Chemistry is all that is. It's Mike and I working together and enjoying rock music at the same tempo and turning it up loud. And I think we just bring an energy to our performances, and the fans can see a little bit of our friendship and excitement while watching us play.
Beautifully put.
I also, that day, I remember I did my laundry.
Well,
so
that gives you a little spark as well, doesn't it? The knowledge.
Fresh underwear. Fresh underwear makes you excited.
There's nothing like new socks, clean underwear. For girls, a new bra gives you this whole other kind of feeling that you're going to have a good day.
That's it. Exactly.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Red socks.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you, is that the next time you came to Boston, you played with the Foo Fighters at Fenway Park.
Yep.
And I remember my mind being blown that you went from the Brighton Music Hall to Fenway Park in the span of not even a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at that time we were on tour with the Foo Fighters, so we're playing venues, stadiums like that. most nights. So Fenway Park to us was a bit of a we didn't know the difference really until we saw is it called the Green Monster?
Yeah.
The green wall. And then we realized what we were dealing with after that.
It's one of those iconic things that even if you don't grow up here in the United States following baseball, you recognize it from movies and the news. And
that's it.
Ted 2.
Yeah, it's the biggest green screen in the world.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you have any appreciation for American baseball or just baseball in general?
I like the hats and I like the jerseys.
I'm not going to pretend I know anything about it, but what I do know about it is the excitement and the culture around it is so prevalent and so so easy to see whenever we go over to America that
it's a fun day out.
Yeah.
You get
it's like your version of cricket to us.
Yeah.
It's like a long slow game that involves a lot of drinking.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. I went to South Africa some years back and sat down for a good amount of time drinking, trying to get people to explain how cricket works. I still don't understand.
I don't think the people playing cricket know how cricket works.
No.
They're so drunk.
Yeah.
They probably went out thinking it was baseball.
You've got to be careful playing these sports because you're out there for a long time in that sun.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure you wear a lot of sunscreen and make sure you have a good hat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they have in common, those two sports, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uniform and sun.
Yeah, sun
and
radiation.
balls.
Lots of bulls.
For what you guys do, that's good advice when you play those big outdoor festivals in the summer.
Exactly. Once we played, I think it was Coachella, where it was so hot, Mike's shoes started melting.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously?
Along with the faces of the crowd.
Thank you.
Oh, there was so much rock.
No, it was just that hot.
It was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, for a girl with makeup, it's not hard to have your face melt off when it gets a little too warm. You look like King Diamond after about 10 minutes.
That's it.
When I asked this question to Tim Comerford from Rage Against the Machine years and years ago, and I'm going to ask you guys the same question for the same reason. You've been playing together for so long now as this force of a rhythm section. How difficult would it be for either one of you to play with someone else now, other than your bandmate?
We're both professionals at this stage, so I'd like to think we could
play.
We obviously could, but I think it's it's more the telepathy and the there's a chemistry when we play that can't be emulated with anyone else.
It wouldn't be. We could play with other people, but it wouldn't be royal blood.
Yeah, it wouldn't rock in the same way.
You're getting to my point about the unspoken communication that you don't have to look at each other or say anything, that you've been playing together so long, you can anticipate what the other one is doing.
Exactly, yeah. That just comes from years of playing together and touring, and you can't buy that online.
No.
You can, but it doesn't work.
The reason why I bring it up is that in any live band or live music situation, there always comes an unexpected emergency, and the rest of the band kind of has to cover. On an extreme case, somebody like the Foo Fighters that you mentioned, where Dave Grohl falls off the stage and breaks his leg, and the band's got to jam for a while till he can come back out with a cast on his leg and continue the show. When there's only the two of you and something goes wrong with the one, can you give me some examples of where you guys have had to bail each other out of a jam and how that unspoken communication fared?
You see, I think you've given us the Dave Grohl thing, and I think he's one of the only people that can do it. I think if any other band member, if I broke my leg, I would not be able to play the drums. So, and I think
you did dislocate your knuckle once, and I did bail you out by telling some jokes.
Jokes, yeah. But you can't. Basically, what's being said is you couldn't just finish a show without me, or else it would just be you.
It depends what it is. If there was, if it
not
was,
something as extreme as a broken leg, but if you broke a snare head, or if his bass malfunctioned and the other one has to cover, it's harder when there's only one other person. Dave Grohl is, of course, the huge exception to what I'm talking about.
You just wait until those things get fixed. I mean, there's been
we're not paid to do that.
There's many occasions where
make your own fun. We're trying to fix shit.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I will try some jokes. I have jokes ready. Let's put it that way. But if I'm in trouble, I'm gonna have to tell him what the jokes are.
Yeah, and I won't tell them. I'll just listen to Mike's jokes.
Yeah. We'll we're actually wasting even more time.
Your bass has been fixed for ages.
Yeah, what are you doing? Snap out.
I'm gonna assume your jokes are really good. I have an affinity for British humor, so you're gonna get a pass with me with whatever those jokes would be.
Okay, good. I'm not going to tell you any because that's just...
No, I don't want to ruin it just in case that you have an emergency the next time you're allowed to come to Boston and actually play a live show.
Maybe we'll make sure we have an emergency next time we play when you're there.
That's a good book name, Emergency Jokes.
Well, I can promise you that when we're allowed to have concerts and tours coming back through, I'm not going to miss any.
There you go.
I think I took them for granted for a long time that I got to go to them so frequently, and now realizing what I've missed, I'm not going to miss.
This whole band feels like an emergency joke. And everyone stopped laughing.
I'm still laughing. It's good. In a good way, though. In a good way.
They love us.
We were talking about Coachella. One of the things I've never been able to do that's been on a bucket list for me, that I'm promising myself I'm going to do once the tours go back out. Tell me about the experience of those huge European festivals that we all see online and on TV, but I haven't had a chance to go to. What is it like to go up on a stage in front of a massive crowd like that?
Yeah, they're awesome. They're so well put together, it's such an experience to go to. And you get to see all your favorite bands in like 2 days. I would say that like UK festivals we're pretty medieval. You're like in the mud, it's raining, you're cold, you're getting pretty ill. You are questioning your own safety. It's like a rite of passage. Going to a festival in the UK is like our spring break. That's what you go and do. Whereas when you get to other parts of Europe, it gets pretty bougie. You're getting more into the Coachella territory where suddenly it's like the grass is cleanly cut. You can go and use the restroom in some form of privacy. There's clean water. It starts to go up. Coachella is like, it's so bougie. It doesn't even feel like a festival. You can get a massage while kind of watching Father John Misty.
Yeah.
Eating organic food on a velvet couch.
It's fucking awesome, but it's just not the same.
It sounds like those British festivals are like Woodstock 94. Like with 9 Inch Nails and Green Day just throwing mud and grass around everywhere, soaking wet and freezing cold.
That's it.
Yeah. There's pain and suffering over here.
It sounds like heaven, though, right now.
Yeah, I would like to be there doing that.
Where are you guys right now?
We're in a little room in our manager's office. We had a meeting today. We've sorted everything out.
Yeah, our bunk beds are over there.
I meant geographically on the planet.
Oh, we're in the UK, in London.
So are you drinking coffee or tea?
Tea. We've just been given 2 lovely hot mugs of tea.
Well, I have my coffee, so cheers.
Cheers,
everyone.
Mike's had too much coffee. He had to run around the room a couple of times.
Yeah, just to sweat it out.
When you are locked up and kind of not allowed to tour as you're used to, being a rock band, you're known for being road dogs and being out on the road. You start getting creative, especially with your social media, like you talked about. And one of the things that I love that the bands have been doing is just off the cuff cover songs.
Oh.
And I know you guys have done that as well. And I'm a huge fan of cover songs. And there's two ways to go about it: to make a song completely your own, or to stay more true to the original. How do you feel about that? And how do you go into picking a song that you're going to cover and which direction you're going to take it?
I think we've been doing it wrong because we've been picking songs that we love to cover. And because we love them, we don't really try and reinvent them. But what we should be doing is picking songs that we
think have got potential.
We think could be better, or just songs that we outright don't like. That's a much more interesting idea. Let's only cover songs that we hate, and we have to try and make them good.
Yeah.
Because then we're potentially offering something new.
Yeah. And also people will then go, have you heard Raw Blood have covered this? And you're like, oh, I hate that song. No, you should listen to this.
You won't hate it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It will make us look great as well.
I mean, I think your original music holds up just fine, but I am a huge fan of someone that can look or listen to a song and just want to completely change it, especially if it's an artist that's out of genre.
Yeah. We could take a song we hate and rewrite the chorus and then let's replace the verse.
Well, Happy Birthday.
And suddenly, why not take Happy Birthday? Let's start there.
Because that song does get sung.
We could do all of the national anthems around the world.
Yeah.
Ooh, careful over here with that one. You don't want to go tweaking that one too much.
I'm like, what could possibly go wrong? I don't see any kind of backlash for doing that. Yeah. They're catchy songs. Everybody knows them.
Yeah.
You won't offend anyone.
Yeah, this is why we have a manager.
Who obviously after today and your successful meetings still has a job. So that's good.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we all have a job.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you guys about this interesting thing that I heard about last year. And because I'm not a musician myself, I'm always really curious about how musicians' brains work. Have you ever heard of synesthesia? They don't.
Sorry?
Have you ever heard of synesthesia?
Yes.
I'm fascinated by this concept, and synesthesia is when you hear notes in music that it resonates in your brain as colors.
Oh, yeah.
And I had never heard of anything like that before. I actually talked to somebody at Zildjian Cymbals, and they kind of told me that it was a thing. So I'm really curious for you guys how it is that you process your instrument and music. Is it by ear? Is it by play? What is it that connects those things in your brain that allows you to write songs and play music?
I'm always slightly suspicious of people that claim to have synesthesia, in that I kind of feel like they like the idea of having it more than they have it. I do I do get it, but it sometimes seems like a fictional flex,
Some things are obvious as well. Like, I would say Metallica's Black album sounds like the color black.
Mm.
Do you know? And the Beatles' White album's probably white.
Yeah. Yeah, it can become a little bit kind of obvious.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm not denying it exists. I know it does, but I'm just having a dig at some people who claim they have it. But I think for us, it's like more of a feeling we get. It's a feeling of sometimes like a literal physical reaction. Like hair standing up and having that little shiver. And then you're like, close the door. And yeah, it's more of an instinctual gut feeling of us playing together and feeling an energy in the room, rather than like, I see red.
Yeah, that's danger. That means danger.
That means danger usually. It's usually time to stop making music. Yeah.
Do you remember when you were a kid what you heard that made you realize that you wanted to be a musician?
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, that whole record for me. It was so groovy and heavy, and it had riffs, and it had funny lyrics and interesting lyrics, and it had the slower songs, and had all kinds of things going on. It was a wacky record, and it was just the first thing that I heard that I was like, "This is rad."
Mm-hmm. For me, it was Queen. Yeah, as soon as I heard Queen, I was learning it on the piano, and I wanted to kind of be a part of that world. I think that got me playing. I think Queen got me playing, actually, like playing out the songs, rather than being a spectator.
You both named bands that are incredibly influential because they weren't afraid to take risks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think almost like they say in the Queen film, fortune favors the bold, and those bands at the time were like incredibly daring, and the music they were putting out when it came out wasn't really respected or understood, and it's only with time that we've gone, whoops, it was all genius, which is quite encouraging to know. It's almost like you should be a little bit worried if it's well received at the time.
Yeah.
You're like, man, it's probably quite predictable.
Also, with all those,
which would put us down as kind of catastrophic failures. We need
Queen,
to make something everyone questions.
With Queen and Chili Peppers as well, they've made so many albums through different genres as well, clashing different musical genres together, and they've not been afraid of it, and they have made mistakes and made shit songs.
Yeah.
But they've still moved on from that and try to do things differently, which is I really respect.
Thank you, Ben.
You have a new album coming out April 30th called Typhoons, and a lot of a lot of bands have been very worried about releasing their new music before they kind of have an idea of when they're going to be able to tour and support it. Was this a huge debate for you guys as to whether or not you were going to release this record?
No, I think if you leave off music until not release anything until we gig again, you could be waiting a long time, and there is no time in the present that people need new music, I think, and we need to. It's that little bit of sugar in your life, isn't it? That you crave, and without it, you're missing it. So people need music. Release music.
When you went in to write this record, you've got such an established sound already. Going back to what you were talking about with, say, the Red Hot Chili Peppers or Queen, who've made mistakes and who had always tried to try new things and experiment. And there's that push and pull between wanting to spread your wings and see what you're capable of, but staying true to the sound of the band that you are. How do you navigate that seesaw of going too far on one edge or the other?
I think it comes down to, like fearlessness to explore, but then also having enough sense of self to know when it doesn't work, and I think the more of those failures you can do in private, the better, and I feel like making this record for us, we did attempt things that were out of our reach or too far or not far enough, but it's better to trip up and fall over flat on your face in secret and practice the dance on your own.
Yeah.
Your music requires a certain level of technology in order to be able to pull it off. But at the same time, there's a certain amount of rock and roll that needs to be kind of stripped down and old school. Can you talk about wanting to keep that gritty kind of rock sound, but also to be able to incorporate a lot of newer technologies into it?
Yeah, I think by default we sit in that old school element because we're playing real instruments with our hands and we don't have a computer telling us when the chorus is, and so I think that's how we grew up listening to music and playing music and learning it. So that's kind of in our DNA. And then as for like technology, it's a tool, and it can be used tastefully or it can be used terribly. And it's something that we love to experiment with in the studio. But again, we feel like there's a balance, because it's when our the music we're making, kind of, if the heartbeat of it becomes about technology, then it's not really for us, Whereas if it becomes a cool glittery jacket that's electric, then sure, we'll put it on.
It's like if you wanted your favorite artist to give you a piece of paper with the lyrics of their favorite song on it, you wouldn't want the artist to type it out on their computer and print it off. Mm-hmm. You'd want it handwritten.
Yeah, there's a point where you're tired of opening the window manually, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah,
electric windows.
But it also is something where you gotta be able to replicate it live in an authentic way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the way we record, I think, remains that way. It's we're recording a real drum kit, rather than having a computer play it. You can't run away from it.
I play the drums.
This is Benny plays the drums.
I'm not very good on computers either.
No. We did try to get a computer to play the drums, but we couldn't remember the login.
One of the things I love about what's happening in music now, and you guys are doing it as well, is that no matter the technology, no matter how many power windows you put in the car, the trend now is to put that music out on vinyl.
Yeah.
Which I'm so happy has found this new life.
Vinylly.
It's great because vinyl is better than a CD, because CDs are not very big and they're all plasticky. Vinyl, you've got the whole thing in your hand. You can read it. Elderly people can read it. Kids can read it. You pull out the sheet and there's a poster and there's artwork and there's color and there's photos to look at. And there's this massive disc, which...
I've got a massive disc.
which you then get excited about putting on your player, and it gives you a whole new meaning to that record and that music that's just about to come from the speakers. Instead of going, I've got this new song, play it right now.
Yeah. It's a bit tinny.
Yeah. That's it.
Come in.
And that's why vinyl is brilliant.
Do you have a favorite vinyl memory, like an album that you just spent hours and hours just sitting in front of a record player, just listening to over and over again? Or that you analyze the artwork or the bifold or all the extra things you got inside?
I don't think I had any vinyl until I was older. I was very much cassettes and CDs.
But I think...
I'm trying to think. I might have had no, it was all CD. For me it was this Elvis CD that was at the house that I would, I guess I would treat it with the same respect as a vinyl, because I knew what it contained.
Yeah, I think mine was actually quite recently when we were on tour with Queens, and I was with John Theodore. I think you were there. Do you come into that music store with us?
I don't remember 5 years of my life.
Anyway, we went in to test out these speakers in this store. There was just a sofa there, and John Theodore just put on Zeppelin 4, and it was just incredible. Like, it was one of those glass rooms where you just test the hi-fi, and we just sat there drinking whatever we had in our hands. I can't even remember. Listening to Zeppelin 4.
Great album.
It's one of those experiences where you can just kind of melt down into the couch.
That's what we did. We melted in a different way to Coachella. Melted.
Mm-hmm.
It comes up a lot on the podcast when we talk about kind of the evolution of rock and roll, and you guys are in an interesting perspective and position about this, that the blues originates here in the United States and then travels overseas, and Americans get blues music back through the filter of these amazing British artists. And then that rock and roll turns into hip hop in a lot of ways. And then hip hop evolves and goes back around the world and it influences rock and roll. For you guys growing up in England, what was your perception of the British artists? Because for America, it was this onslaught of creativity that showed up on the shores back in the day with the Beatles. But you mentioned Elvis, which kind of had to predate the Beatles and make its way across. So how was that whole perception for you growing up?
I feel like both sides of the pond have always been staring at each other, and I would say for us, it was always like the music that was coming from America, I can't think of many English artists that we were like anywhere near as excited about. There was something, I don't know, maybe you can hear the authenticity and the history of it, and I feel like England has always been this like reflective wall from what America's really producing. But sometimes there's something about imitating what you love and missing the mark that makes something quite unique, And for us, it was always American bands. And I guess when us emulating our influences, like everyone does, you always do it in your own weird little English way, and the result is hopefully something unique.
Coming from an American who made the pilgrimage to England to dodge traffic in the crosswalk of Abbey Road, I was curious what that was like in the reverse.
We're also a lot more miserable than Americans, We're
sure? Are you really sure?
We're not that happy. It's pretty grey. It's literally grey outside everywhere. So I feel like we're angrier. So we can put a lot more of our anger.
It's where our humour comes from, isn't it? Really?
It is, yeah.
It's how dull it is.
Yeah, it's sink or swim over here. Laugh or cry.
Which is probably why Bostonians in particular have such an affinity for humor, because it's pretty gray and miserable here right now too, and cold, and nobody really wants to do anything. Not that there's anything to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely feel the same.
Can relate.
We can relate.
I want to ask you about the writing process, because there's two of you as opposed to, Slipknot, there's 9 of them trying to agree, or however many band members there are.
It's like, no, this was
But I'm fascinated as a non-musician, as someone that doesn't have musical talent, and I apologize to anyone listening to the podcast because I ask this question a lot of artists. As someone who doesn't have the ability to pour all of your heart and soul into your creativity as a band, and then you bring in someone from the outside as a producer to give you that outside opinion. How difficult of a process is that? And I ask you because you've worked with people that are also musicians like Josh Homme.
Yeah, the record we've made is kind of by default largely self-produced, but we did a couple of tunes with Josh, and that was such a great experience, because I think in order for someone to enter our world and get their head inside our band, it has to be someone that we truly respect, and Josh is obviously one of those people. I think part of being someone, and also I think it's down to us to make someone feel comfortable enough to challenge us, because it's easy to be in a room full of everyone agreeing with each other, So working with him was an amazing experience, and I think we came away from that session, fully realizing the kind of songs we needed in order to make the record we wanted to make, and the level of fearlessness we were going to have to find in ourselves in order to go and pursue the record we wanted to make.
When it comes to fearlessness, which is such a huge word when you're talking about, well, that's what I wanted to ask you, because rock and roll, on one hand has this amazing community and longevity of career and loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, there's unfortunately this tragedy in it where artists have poured their souls into this art that they make. And in that soul is pain, a lot of pain that makes this amazing music. And then we lose those artists because the pain overwhelms them.
Mm-hmm.
And when we lose those artists, I always talk about, I'll cite 2 examples, most recent, Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell. You go back and listen to the music and it was all in there.
Mm-hmm.
And as a fan of music, there's a guilt that comes with the fact that we consumed their pain as entertainment. So when you're pouring everything into your music and it isn't well received, when you talk about these bands you love that made mistakes, how difficult is that to be fearless when you know everything you're dumping into it could fail and that it's you that you've poured into it?
Well, I think there's a danger of entering this kind of transaction where you're selling your feelings for any kind of exterior validation. And I think, the culture that we're in now, is largely dependent on others validating you for whatever you're doing with your life. And I think for us, we kind of cut that off pretty quickly. And I think that's why it's so important to make music for yourself. And the people that you've mentioned, I believe, they didn't do that to sell. They made that art for themselves. And I think that's an amazing thing about music is you can turn your pain into art, and I think, I think for us, it's not up to us how someone else feels about it, and I think, I think it was Kurt Cobain that said, it's better to be hated for who you are than loved for something you're not, and I think, I think that's why you should make art for yourself. And I'd rather make a record that we think is brilliant, that absolutely bombs, than something we get told is amazing, but deep down we hate it. And we're like at a stadium playing it, and inside we're the worst band in the world.
Well, I ask because you just celebrated or just received your second #1 song on the radio here in America off of a record that's not even out yet.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it's funny, we got asked recently, when someone asked us, when will you feel like this new album is a success? And to me, the answer is easy. It's the minute it was finished for us, and when no one else had heard it, that's when we do our celebrating. Because and going back to our time with Josh, I think he really helped remind me, this album you're making should be for you only. It should be something that you want to listen to in your own time. And that was the kind of goal, really. I think sometimes you get to the end of a record making process and you don't really want to hear it ever again. Whereas this album, it's still in heavy rotation back at the house.
And it's a tough position to be in when you finish a record and you don't want to hear it again. And then you got to spend the next 2 years out on the road playing the songs every night.
Yeah, that's when you've made the wrong record.
And you're talking about a guy that definitely is considered fearless, that is not afraid to take chances and experiment and spread wings and try new things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think there's there's something so inspiring about that. And obviously, he's made many more records than we have, and comparatively, we're a lot earlier on in our life as artists, And I think it's an exciting time for us because it's the first time we've really made a change from what we've done before, And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. I weirdly quite enjoy people questioning a new direction. I think it's quite exciting, It's it's fun to kind of do. It's very liberating as an artist to unchain yourself and free yourself.
It's been such a strange time with the world shut down the way that it has been. And one of the things that we have to look forward to is a literal baby boom. Like, I can't name all the people I know that are expecting babies. And then we're also going to get this music boom. Was it nice having that creative outlet when everything was shut down to be able to just kind of close yourselves into the studio and work on music? And how much of this was done already before COVID really became the global catastrophe that it turned out to be?
The majority of the record in our minds was finished, and we were in the middle of recording it. And I think having to stop the recording process and going into a lockdown, it forced us into boredom. And I'm a believer in boredom. I believe, in my experience, it's when I'm at my most creative, because distractions are confiscated and I'm left with my bare essentials, and my vice and my therapy is music. And I think maybe going back to the England thing as well, because England is so dark and rainy and cold, much like the atmosphere of a lockdown, it was like, well, I need to kind of make some antidote to this, I need to bring some sunshine to come out of the speakers. And it turned out to be obvious, it turned out to be a very creative experience, basically. I think it actually acted as a catalyst for the record. Typhoons was written in lockdown. Our next single that is coming out soon was also written in lockdown. So yeah, some of the best material came out of that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. If you had already written and started recording a lot of this record before it happened, what songs were changed the most by that experience? Obviously, what you just said. Yeah. I think 3 songs. Yeah, Mad Visions, Limbo, Typhoons all came out of that lockdown period. That boredom that you talk about, did you do anything unexpected other than work on music? Did you develop a new skill or do something you never expected to have the time to do because you were just forced to sit still for that long? Did you learn how to cook?
I actually love cooking anyway, so that's something I always do. But I began to go in the sea and swim in the ocean a lot more. And I still do that through the winter. So it gets kind of near freezing. So yeah, cold ocean swims.
They say it's supposed to be really good for you, health-wise.
Apparently, it hurts a lot, but yeah, I've heard.
And before I let you go, when you go back and listen to the music you've created and you go back and listen to the music that inspired you, as a songwriter, can you give me an example of a song from any artist of any era, whenever, that you go, oh, I wish I had written that song?
There's so many.
I know. It's for a music lover. I know it's a hard question.
There's a song called Favorite Game by the Cardigans that I love. I wish I wrote that song. I wish I wrote We Will Rock You the most, because I think We Will Rock You is the ultimate example of what we admire and pursue in music, which is so simple and so dumb that it like knocks on the door of genius, And I think it's so built around the live show, and it's like the crowd play the song.
Well, that's what was great to see in the movie that you talked about.
Yeah,
is the participation that's required from the audience.
And that combined with the lyric, and there's nothing in it. It's just that the simplest drum beat that everyone wished they came out with, and just a vocal, and then right at the end, like the greatest guitar solo you've ever heard. It's just, I don't know. It's so simple and so dumb. It's frustrating,
Why didn't I think of that? I mean, obviously you weren't born young enough, but
yeah, genius.
I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me today.
It's been a pleasure.
I know we lost Ben. I don't know if he had to pee. I apologize if I made him almost pee his pants.
He had another interview.
Oh, well, there you go.
So he had to go.
But it was nice to see you guys again. And congratulations on the new record. It's amazing. And I love that you are trying new things and are fearless in releasing music at this time and experimenting and doing new things. And you're right. It is something we all need right now is more new music and more of that sunshine in our lives a little bit, because it's hard right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
And I can't wait to see you guys when you can actually come to Boston and play the songs live.
It will happen. Hold tight.
We'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, there they are, Mike and Ben from Royal Blood. Huge thanks to them for coming on the podcast. The album we spent so much time talking about, Typhoons, comes out on April 30th. You can get all the details on the band and all of their social media links in the show notes of this podcast, and you definitely want to check out the custom playlist for this episode as well. The new songs they've already released off the record are in there, as well as all of the other music that we talked about. And once again, thanks to Digital Federal Credit Union at dcu.org and mistresscarrie.com for sponsoring this week's episode. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss anything on the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday. Plus, every weekday, you get all your headlines in music and entertainment boiled down to less than 5 minutes with the Mistress Carrie sit rep. And if you don't mind, leave us a 5-star review and a comment. And if you got a friend that's a Royal Blood fan, share the episode. And join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 on my Facebook page for Cocktails in the War Room. The Mistress Carrie podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.